Hello everybody, and Wine with Jimmy here, showing you a series on mastering Spain. And I'm going to go through the geography here in two parts. Now, this series of mastering Spain with its multitude of videos are available in their entirety on the Wine with Jimmy Club, which is a monthly subscription service of just £3.99 a month, and it gives you lots of access to wonderful presentations and series and wine and food recommends, you name it. It's just £3.99 a month and you can cancel at any time. Here we are looking at the geography, going to be going through the mountains and plains of the Iberian Peninsula. So quite an important viewpoint for sure. And in part two, I'll go through the rivers, but that will only be available for those of you who do subscribe to the Wine with Jimmy Club. So let's begin with its location. Of course, Spain sits in Western Europe and in that southwestern Europe section. It's located between 36th and 44th parallel north. So you'll see it on your map just here, which is rather quite useful. So 36 right at that bottom part, Tarifa at the bottom part of Andalusia, and then almost to 44 when you are looking at the likes of Galicia. So it spans nearly 8-degree latitude. Spain is the 4th largest country in Europe, and it dominates the Iberian Peninsula, which is the collective name for this whole peninsula, also including Portugal. 85% of the Iberian Peninsula is Spain. Now, in terms of physical geography, Spain is very diverse. It has dramatic mountain ranges. It has high plateaus, what we call plains, Meseta plains, and then, of course, significant coastline as well. A real defining, famous feature of Spain, certainly in the interior, is the Meseta plain. Madrid, which is the capital city, sits at the center of the Meseta and, of course, the center of Spain itself. And a nice, interesting fact about Madrid, maybe this would be somewhat of a pub quiz question, but it sits at 650 meters, making it the second highest capital in Europe. Now, please, I know the answer to the first one, the highest capital in Europe, but do you please pop your comments, your answers in the section below this, in the comments section. It'll be interesting to hear what you believe is the highest capital in Europe. So Spain's coastline is nearly 5,000 kilometers long. That's 3,000 miles long, very, very long indeed. And it is on both the Atlantic and the Mediterranean Sea. Mainland Spain is bordered by 3 primary bodies of water. So we have to the north, you'll see from your map, and I can start doing a little bit of pointing here as well. This is the Cantabrian Sea and the Bay of Biscay that you see to your northern section. Okay, then to the west, we have, of course, with Galicia, but also Portugal, we have the Atlantic Ocean. And then, of course, from the most southerly point of Andalusia all the way around places like Alicante and Valencia, Barcelona, this is, of course, the Mediterranean. We have a group of islands, including Ibiza, Menorca. This is the Balearic Islands in the Mediterranean. And then we also have the Canary Islands. Now, they're not here. You can see that this is actually a different scale. And this is closer to Africa, a collection of volcanic islands, including Lanzarote, Gran Canaria, Tenerife, La Palma, La Gomera, etc. Now, the landmass of Spain is connected to the continent of Europe here, with the Pyrenees being the defining mountain range. And this is the connection to France. There's also Andorra just here as well, which is a separate country. Portugal is to the west, and the British overseas territory of Gibraltar is to the right, to this southern section down here. And it's important to note that you also have Ceuta, and you also have Melilla, which is just here, which are two autonomous cities which are incorporated into Spain as well. So let's talk about the Meseta, because I mentioned it's the most defining feature. Oh, and it's jumped too far ahead. Here we go. We've gone back again. And I've put a startling fact there at the bottom right-hand corner that 43% of Spain's mainland is the Meseta, split into the Meseta North and the Meseta South. So the Meseta is a high elevation plateau which spans around 81,000 miles. It has an average elevation of around 660 meters. That's about 2,100 feet. And it crosses many of the autonomous regions, including Castilla y León, Madrid, Castilla-La Mancha, and also parts of Extremadura, Navarra, and Aragon. The Meseta is bordered by mountain ranges, of course. So in the northern section, you'll see it here. It's bounded by the Cantabrian mountain range. Then to the east, it is the Sistema Ibérico, which is just here, forming the southern border of the Ebro. And then to the south, the Sierra Morena, which is actually just off the bottom of this map. You'll see that throughout the middle of the Meseta is the Sistema Central. This cuts really across the plateau east to west, with peaks rising above 2,400 meters. That's nearly 8,000 feet. And it divides the Meseta into the Sub-Meseta Norte, which is the northern subplateau or the Meseta North, and the Sub-Meseta Sur, which is the southern subplateau, as it says there, the Meseta South. Now, the Sub-Meseta Norte, the Meseta North, is located primarily in Castilla y León, and it sits at elevations at around 700 to 800 meters. That's around 2,300 to 2,600 feet. The Sub-Meseta Sur, or the Meseta South, you'll see at the bottom of your screen, covers much of Madrid, Castilla-La Mancha, and parts of Extremadura. This is a little bit lower. It's typically around 600 to 700 meters. That's about nearly 2,000 to 2,300 feet. Now let's talk about mountains, of course. There are lots of dramatic mountain ranges in Spain. It's one of the most mountainous countries in Europe, and that might surprise some of you. By measures such as average elevation, the number of distinct mountain systems and the proportion of land covered by the mountains, it ranks just behind Austria and Switzerland, which you would, of course, logically expect to be at the top. So half of Spain's terrain is mountainous. The Pyrenees, to begin with, is what I'm showing you in your picture just there, the Spanish Pyrenees, which is around 305 miles long. That's about nearly 500 kilometers from the Bay of Biscay on the Atlantic to the Mediterranean. It forms the natural physical border with France. The highest peak is Eneto, which is 3,404 meters. That's over 11,000 feet, found in Aragon. Then we are going to be talking about the Cordillera Cantabria, or the Cantabrian mountain range. This runs 300 kilometers or 186 miles from the Pyrenees all the way to the Macizo Gallico, which is the Galician Massif. And within it, there is the Picos de Europa, which is the highest peak. And that is just 12 miles from the coast. You'll see it in all of its glory just here on that wonderful picture. Then next we have the Sistema Ibérico, or the Iberian system, the Iberian system. This extends around 300 miles. That's about 480 kilometers from the Cordillera Cantabrica, or the Cantabrian range, and it heads down towards the Mediterranean, forming a barrier between the Meseta Central and the Val de Ebro, the Ebro Valley. And you see the background of the Sistema Ibérico there in your picture. Then you have the Sistema Central, which, as we know from earlier, cuts across the Meseta. It spans about 300 miles, nearly 500 kilometers, and includes the likes of the Sierra de Guadarrama, the Sierra de Gredos, important for Garnacha, and there you'll find the Pico Almanzor, which is 2,600 meters high. That's the picture you'll see just there. That's 8,500 feet. It is the highest point. The Montes de Toledo also lies in the Meseta off to the south. That separates the Tejo and the Guadiana river basins, and it is around 217 meters long. We're now going to jump up to the northeast, where we come to Catalunya, of course. And in Catalunya, we have the Cordilleras Costero Catalanas, or the Catalan coastal range, running parallel to the coastline from the Pyrenees southwards. And you'll see it just here on your map. It's this extension here, and can be split into cordilleras as well. Then we come to the south. So to the south of the Meseta, as we come to Andalusia, we have here the Sierra Morena, okay, which is basically separating the Meseta south in the north here to the Val de Guadalquivir and Andalusia to the south. This extends for about 280 miles. That's about 450 kilometers. Then you have what's called the Sistema Béticos, or Sistema Bético, the Cordillera Subbética, it's called here, and Cordillera Penibética, which is parts of the Sistema Bético, continuing into Murcia as it goes towards the northwest. The Bétic system extends for around 600 kilometers, that's about 370 miles, from the Gulf of Cadiz to southern Valencia, and includes the Sierra Nevada, which includes the Mulhacén, which you'll see a peak in your picture here, which goes up to about 3,500 meters. That's about 11,500 feet. Also, the Béticos then goes underneath the Mediterranean and pops out one last time as the Sierra de Tramontana in Mallorca, a part of the Balearic Islands. The highest peak, though, is not on mainland Spain. Spain's highest point is the Pico del Teide, or Mount Teide, at 3,718 meters. That's 12,200 feet. It's an active volcano on Tenerife and a UNESCO World Heritage Site. So from mountains, we'll go to plains. And first of all, let's talk about the Depression del Ebro, or the Cuenca del Ebro, which is the Ebro Depression. This is a kind of broad, roughly triangular lowland, which sits in the northeast of Spain. It's formed by the uplift of surrounding mountain systems. So, of course, the Pyrenees and the Sistema Ibéricos. It covers around 33,000 miles squared. It's about 1/5 of Spain's landmass. It's also bounded on the far eastern side by the Cordilleras Costera Catalanas, the Catalan mountain range. This is classified as a lowland, but it does go up to sort of 200 to 400 meters. That's about 660 to about 1,300 feet. And the basin here is dry, continental, with limited rainfall, with a lot of rainfall or irrigation at least being supplied by the extensive water network, the watershed of the Ebro Valley system. Next, we're going to highlight another area which is down in the south. This is the Depresión del Guadalquivir, or the Cuenca del Guadalquivir. It's the Guadalquivir Basin. And the central lowland here is often referred to the La Campiña Andaluza, or the Andalusian Plain. It is the flattest and lowest lying major region in Spain. Elevations rarely go up to 200 meters, that's 660 feet, stretching from the Sierra Morena in the north to the Sistema Béticos in the south. This is an important area because it can be quite fertile, certainly for hydrology here. It's an important agricultural zone for wheat, olives, sunflowers, and rice. And that is that flatter and lower area. Your last slide here then is to talk about the remaining small plains. And Spain's other plains include La Mancha Plain, Campo de Cartagena, and Vega Baja del Segura. Part of the Meseta, the La Mancha Plain is notably flat and expansive, serving as a key cereal producing area. And along the Mediterranean coast, you'll find the Campo de Cartagena, or the Cartagena Plain, that's in Murcia, and the Vega Baja de Segura in the Alicante area. This has intensive all year round agriculture made possible by irrigation. Okay, that brings me to the conclusion of this first video on geography. Once again, thank you so much for joining me. If you wish to then follow on and listen about the major rivers of Spain in part 2, you'll need to go across and click on the link in the description below this video to sign up to the Wine with Jimmy Club, which is just for £3.99 a month, cancel at any time, but giving you access to all of these exclusive videos to help you on your wine journey. Thank you very much. I've been Jimmy Smith, and until next time, cheers.